There's a moment in every person's life when the veil between the present and the past becomes so thin that it almost tears completely. You're walking down a street you've never visited before, but every corner seems to whisper your name with familiarity. You meet someone for the first time, and your eyes meet theirs with a recognition that transcends all logic. You enter an unfamiliar place and feel like you've been there, not just physically, but with every fiber of your being. These are not accidents of fate or tricks of the mind. They are fragments of memories that have crossed the abyss of time, echoes of previous existences that refuse to remain silent. Theosophy, that body of esoteric knowledge that penetrates the deepest layers of spiritual reality, teaches us that we are eternal beings navigating through successive incarnations, and that some of us have begun to awaken to this fundamental truth. This is no coincidence. It is the universe whispering ancient secrets directly into your soul, revealing that you have walked this path before, that you have lived this life in some previous form, and that now the time has come to remember who you really are. The feeling of déjà vu is not simply a neurological abnormality, as materialistic science insists on making us believe. When you experience that inexplicable shiver down your spine when visiting a place for the first time, when words leave your mouth before you can even consciously formulate them, when you predict events with an accuracy that defies rational explanation, you are touching the edges of a memory far vaster than any individual life could contain. Theosophy teaches us that we carry within us the complete record of all our previous existences, recorded not in the physical brain, but in more subtle layers of our spiritual constitution. The causal body, that dimension of our existence that transcends the limitations of linear time, stores every experience, every relationship, every lesson learned over the centuries. When these memories begin to bleed into waking consciousness, they manifest as strange sensations of familiarity, inexplicable knowledge about places and people, talents that seem to spring from nowhere without prior training. You're not going crazy. You are remembering. Instant soul recognition is one of the most powerful signs you have ever lived before. How many times have you met someone and felt a connection so deep that it seemed impossible to have formed in a matter of minutes? How many times have your eyes met those of a stranger, and you saw there not just a new person, but someone you've known for millennia? Theosophy explains that we travel through incarnations and soul groups, spiritual circles that meet repeatedly to resolve collective karma, to learn shared lessons, to grow together through the ages. These encounters are not accidental. They are orchestrated by the superior intelligence of the universe, arranged with divine precision so that we can continue our unfinished evolutionary work. When you feel that inexplicable magnetic attraction to someone, when there is a mutual understanding that needs no words, when you can predict another person's thoughts and feelings with disconcerting accuracy, you are recognizing a spiritual journey companion. You have walked together before, you have loved and suffered together, you have supported each other through unimaginable trials. This recognition transcends any physical attraction or personality compatibility. It is the soul recognizing another soul through the veil of matter. The inexplicable phobias you've carried since childhood are not simply meaningless neuroses. They are traumatic memories from previous lives etched so deeply into your being that they have crossed the barrier of death and rebirth. An inexplicable fear of water may indicate that you drowned in a past incarnation. A fear of heights may suggest a fatal fall that ended a previous life. Crushing anxiety in closed spaces can be the echo of imprisonment or live burial. Theosophy teaches us that intense emotional trauma creates such strong impressions on the astral body that these impressions can persist from one life to the next. When a young child, without any prior exposure, demonstrates an irrational fear of something specific, this fear does not come out of nowhere. It is a cellular memory, a memory of the soul that has remained active through the process of reincarnation. These phobias are not punishments or signs of weakness. They are opportunities for healing, invitations to resolve old traumas that still keep you trapped in patterns of fear. When you recognize the spiritual origin of these anxieties, when you understand that they are scars from battles already fought, you can begin the process of liberation and transformation. Action, natural talent that manifests itself without formal training, is another telltale sign of past life experiences. Have you ever wondered why some people pick up a musical instrument for the first time and seem to instinctively know how to play it? Why do certain children demonstrate mathematical or artistic abilities that far exceed any genetic explanation? Why do you feel a deep familiarity with certain historical eras, as if you had lived in them personally? Theosophy explains that the abilities developed over multiple incarnations are not lost with the death of the physical body. They are encoded in the superior mental body, that dimension of our consciousness where all the knowledge and abilities acquired through the ages reside. When we reincarnate, these abilities remain latent, waiting for the right conditions to manifest themselves again. A musician who has perfected his craft over several lifetimes can be born into a new body and feel an irresistible attraction to music, learning at a speed that surprises even the most experienced teachers. A warrior from past incarnations may demonstrate physical courage and martial skills that seem innate. A healer who has served humanity in multiple lifetimes may possess an intuitive understanding of the body and illness that transcends any formal education. The inexplicable attraction to certain cultures, languages, or historical periods is not simple intellectual curiosity. It is the memory of the soul calling you back to the places and times where you once lived. Do you feel a deep connection to ancient Egypt, even though you've never physically visited it? Perhaps you walked the banks of the Nile in a previous incarnation. Perhaps you served in the temples of Isis or studied the mysteries in initiation schools. Do you feel inexplicably at home when studying Greek philosophy? Maybe you debated in the agoras of Athens. Maybe you were a disciple of Pythagoras or Plato. Do you experience deep nostalgia when hearing about ancient India or Tibet? Maybe you meditated in ashrams in the Himalayan mountains. Maybe you studied with enlightened masters who taught eternal truths. Theosophy teaches us that the soul is drawn repeatedly into the same spiritual currents, into the same wisdom traditions, into the same paths of development. These attractions are not random. They are threads connecting you to your spiritual past, reminders of commitments made, knowledge acquired, oaths taken in temples long forgotten by the modern world. The recurring dreams that visit you night after night are not just your subconscious processing daily experiences. Some dreams are windows into previous lives, authentic visions of who you were and what you experienced in other times and places. When you repeatedly dream of a specific era, of clothes from another century, of landscapes that no longer exist in the modern world, when these dreams carry a quality of reality more vivid than waking life itself, you are accessing memories stored in the depths of your consciousness. Theosophy explains that during sleep, consciousness partially withdraws from the physical body and can access Akashic records, that universal archive where every thought, every action, every event that has ever occurred is permanently recorded. Some people, especially those in advanced stages of spiritual development, are able to access their own Akashic memories during sleep, reliving fragments of previous existences. These dreams have distinctive characteristics: exceptional clarity, precise historical details that you could not consciously know, deep emotions that persist after awakening, a feeling that you were not dreaming but remembering. Inexplicable affinities with certain animals or elements of nature also reveal past life connections. Do you feel a deep peace near the ocean, as if the waves are calling you home? Perhaps you were a navigator or lived in maritime cultures in previous incarnations. Do you feel energized in the mountains, as if the high altitudes nourish your soul? Perhaps you were a monk in mountain monasteries, a shaman of highland tribes, a seeker of truth who retreated to high places to find enlightenment. Do you have a special connection with certain animals, feeling a communication that transcends the normal? Theosophy teaches us that in certain cultures and times, humanity maintained a much closer connection with the animal kingdom, and some of us carry these memories of deep communion. These affinities are not casual preferences. They are echoes of ancient relationships, of lives lived in harmony with specific aspects of nature, of shamanic knowledge and spiritual practices that do use the elements and animals as portals to higher dimensions of consciousness. Spontaneous knowledge about subjects you have never formally studied is another powerful indicator of past life memories emerging. Do you find yourself knowing things about astrology, alchemy, herbal medicine, or spiritual practices without ever receiving formal instruction? Do you understand complex metaphysical concepts with an ease that surprises even you? Do you have profound insights into the nature of reality, the structure of the cosmos, the mysteries of existence that seem to come from a place much deeper than simple reading or study? Theosophy explains that those who have walked the path of spiritual knowledge in previous lives, who have studied in the ancient mystery schools, who have been initiated into esoteric traditions, carry this knowledge encoded in their spiritual essence. When conditions are favorable, when consciousness reaches a certain level of maturity, this latent knowledge begins to awaken. It's not that you're learning new information. You are remembering ancient wisdom that has always been within you, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The feeling of being out of time, of not fully belonging to the modern era, is experienced by many ancient souls who have been reincarnated multiple times. Do you feel out of place in contemporary society, as if your values, your perspective, your worldview belong to a different time? Do you long for a simplicity, a spiritual connection, a depth of life that you feel existed in other times? Do you find yourself romanticizing specific historical periods, feeling like you were somehow born in the wrong era? These sensations are not simply dissatisfaction with the present. They are soul memories of times when humanity lived differently, when connection with the sacred was an integral part of everyday life, when people understood truths that are now lost to most. Theosophy teaches us that human evolution is not a straight upward line of progress. Certain eras of the past possessed spiritual wisdom and cosmic understanding that far exceed the superficial materialism of modernity. Souls who lived in these golden ages carry the memory of this wisdom and feel acutely the loss that humanity suffered in forgetting these fundamental truths. The instantly deep relationships we form with certain people reveal karmic connections from previous incarnations. There is a qualitative difference between meeting someone new and recognizing a familiar soul. When you meet someone and immediately feel complete trust, when there is no warming up period necessary to develop intimacy, when you can share your deepest secrets without fear of judgment, you're finding a companion on your spiritual journey. Theosophy explains that we form soul bonds over multiple lifetimes, especially with those with whom we share intense experiences, whether of love, friendship, spiritual partnership, or even significant conflict. These souls return to our lives again and again, playing different roles in different incarnations, but always connected through invisible threads of shared karma. A lover from a past life may return as your best friend in this life. A parent from a previous incarnation may appear as your child. An enemy you fought in ancient battles may be reborn as someone with whom you need to resolve conflicts and find reconciliation. These encounters are not accidental. They are carefully orchestrated opportunities for mutual growth, healing of old wounds, completion of outstanding karmas. The ability to learn languages with exceptional ease may indicate that you spoke that language in previous lives. Some people find that certain languages come naturally to them, as if they are simply remembering something forgotten rather than learning something new. Do you study Italian and the words flow out of you with an ease that surprises your teachers? Maybe you lived in Renaissance Italy. Maybe you were a poet or artist in Florence or Venice. Does Sanskrit resonate in your soul with a depth that transcends intellectual understanding? Perhaps you were a Brahmin studying the Vedas, a yogi meditating in the forests of ancient India. Does ancient Egyptian or hieroglyphs awaken something deep within you? Perhaps you served as a scribe or priest in the Nile temples. Theosophy teaches us that language is not just a communication tool, but carries specific vibrational frequencies that resonate with certain souls. And when you have a past life connection to a specific culture, your subtle body maintains impressions of those cultures frequently. Linguistic skills, making relearning the language much more natural and intuitive. Intense and inexplicable emotional reactions to certain music, works of art, or cultural expressions can be triggers of memories from previous lives. Do you hear a specific piece of music and tears start flowing for no apparent reason? Do you see a painting or sculpture and feel a deep emotional connection that goes beyond aesthetic appreciation? Do you try certain dances, rituals, or ceremonies and feel like your body knows how to move, how to participate, even if you've never been exposed to them before? These reactions are not simply artistic sensibility. They are resonances with past experiences, echoes of lives where you participated in these cultural traditions, where these artistic expressions were part of your daily existence. Theosophy explains that art and music carry spiritual impressions of the times and places in which they were created, and those who lived in those times respond to these impressions with a recognition that transcends the conscious mind. When you feel an overwhelming emotion when experiencing certain art forms, your astral body is responding to familiar vibrations, to frequencies it has known before, to expressions of beauty and truth that have nourished your soul in other lifetimes. Intuition developed about specific dangers or threatening situations may stem from past life traumas that taught important survival lessons. Do you have an inexplicable ability to sense danger before it manifests itself? Do you avoid certain situations or people without knowing exactly why, only to discover later that your intuition was correct? Do you have a sixth sense about security issues that has kept you protected throughout your life? Theosophy teaches us that the soul learns from every experience, especially those that involve danger or death. These lessons are encoded in the astral body as protective mechanisms that can manifest as heightened intuition in subsequent lifetimes. If you died in a fire in a past life, you may possess a healthy, instinctive fear of fire in this life, a vigilance that keeps you safe. If you have been betrayed by someone you trusted, you may have a natural ability to detect deceit and manipulation. This intuition is not paranoia or irrational anxiety. It is wisdom accumulated through the ages, the soul using past experiences to navigate present challenges with greater awareness and caution. Relationship patterns that repeat throughout your life, especially those that seem karmic in nature, are often continuations of unresolved dynamics from previous incarnations. Do you often find yourself in relationships where you play the role of healer, savior, or martyr? Perhaps in past lives, you took on responsibilities that were not yours. Perhaps you sacrificed your own evolution to serve others, creating a karmic pattern of codependency. Do you repeatedly attract partners who abandon or cheat on you? Perhaps you were the one who abandoned or betrayed in previous incarnations, and now you're experiencing the other side of this karmic equation to learn compassion and understanding. Do you often find yourself in positions of authority or leadership, even when you don't actively seek them? Perhaps you have been a leader in multiple previous lives, and this energy remains strong in your spiritual makeup. Theosophy explains that the law of karma operates with mathematical precision, ensuring that we experience all perspectives of any situation where we make an impact. These repetitive patterns are not punishments, but educational opportunities, chances to finally learn the lessons we have avoided, to heal the wounds we have created, to balance the debts we have accumulated over multiple lifetimes. Attraction to specific spiritual practices, even without prior exposure to them, indicates deep involvement with those traditions in past lives. Do you feel naturally drawn to meditation, discovering that your body and mind know how to still themselves, even if you've never practiced before? Perhaps you were a Buddhist monk, spending years in meditative retreat, developing contemplative abilities that now resurface naturally. Do you feel a deep resonance with yoga practices, feeling that the asanas and pranayama are like coming home? Perhaps you were a dedicated yogi in previous Indian incarnations, walking the path of Raja Yoga or Hatha Yoga to advanced levels of achievement. Do you experience spontaneous energetic phenomena, such as Kundalini awakening or chakras activating, without you having done anything specific to trigger them? Theosophy teaches us that spiritual development is never lost. Once you reach certain levels of consciousness, once you open certain energetic channels, once you master certain practices, this progress is permanently recorded in your spiritual constitution. When you reincarnate, it may take some time to reconnect with these abilities, but they are there, waiting, ready to be reactivated much more quickly than would be possible for someone starting from scratch. Extraordinary synchronicities that occur in your life, especially those that seem to guide you in specific directions or connect you with particular people, are often signs that you're being guided by forces that recognize your past life connections. Do you think about someone you haven't seen in years and receive a call from them the same day? Do you need specific information and a book falls from a shelf directly into your hands? Do you accidentally miss a flight only to meet someone at the airport who completely changes the course of your life? Theosophy explains that there are higher intelligences, spiritual masters and guides, who work on the inner planes to orchestrate encounters and experiences that are important for our evolution. These synchronicities are not coincidences. These are carefully planned interventions, moments where the veil between worlds becomes transparent and the guiding hand of destiny becomes visible. When you are reincarnating for specific purposes, when you have made agreements on higher planes to meet certain people or complete certain tasks, the universe conspires to ensure that these encounters happen. Synchronicities are signs that you are on the right path, that you're being supported by forces that see the full picture of your journey through the ages. Spontaneous compassion for specific forms of suffering may indicate that you have experienced that suffering in previous lives. Do you feel deep empathy for refugees or displaced people, an ache in your heart when you hear their stories? Perhaps you were forced to flee your homeland in previous incarnations. Perhaps you experienced the anguish of exile, the loss of home and identity. Do you feel a special urgency to help abandoned or orphaned children? Perhaps you were one of these children in past lives, or perhaps you lost your own children tragically, creating a lasting sensitivity to this particular form of suffering. Do you feel a deep connection to those struggling with specific illnesses or particular traumas? Theosophy teaches us that true compassion is born of shared experience, and that we often choose to work to alleviate in others the same suffering that we ourselves have experienced in previous incarnations. This is not spiritual masochism, but the natural path of the evolving soul that transforms its own pain into wisdom and service. When you feel an irresistible call to help a specific group of people or alleviate a particular form of suffering, you're often responding to deep memories of when you needed that same kind of help, when you longed for someone who understood your pain. The healing talents that some people naturally possess, whether through touch, presence, or intuition about illness, often indicate that they have been healers in multiple previous lives. Do you place your hands on someone who is suffering and feel energy flowing through you? Can you sense where disease resides in another person's body without any medical training? Do you have intuitive knowledge about herbs, medicinal plants, or natural remedies that seems to come from a place much deeper than books or formal education? Theosophy explains that the art of healing is developed over many lifetimes, especially by souls who have dedicated multiple incarnations to serving others through the relief of physical and emotional suffering. These healers are not just learning techniques, they are developing an increasingly refined sensitivity to subtle bodies, to energy fields, to the spiritual causes of physical illness. When someone is born with these capacities already active, when a child demonstrates healing abilities that exceed any normal explanation, It reveals a soul who has walked this path repeatedly, who has developed his capacities through prolonged dedication to healing service. These people often feel an irresistible calling to healing professions, not because they have chosen a career, but because they are answering a calling that echoes through multiple lifetimes of compassionate service. The ability to see or feel spiritual entities, to perceive dimensions beyond the physical, may indicate that you have worked with these planes of existence in previous incarnations. Do you see figures or lights that others cannot see? Do you feel presences in rooms that seem empty to everyone else? Do you have prophetic dreams that manifest or visions of future events? Can you communicate with those who have already departed the physical plane? Theosophy teaches us that clairvoyant perception is a natural ability of human consciousness that most have lost through immersion in the dense materiality of physical existence. However, those who have developed these abilities in past lives, especially through training in mystery schools, ancient temples, or shamanic traditions, retain this sensitivity to varying degrees. These people often spend their childhood seeing and experiencing things that adults tell them are not real, learning to suppress their natural perceptions, to fit into a society that denies dimensions beyond the physical. As adults, if they have the courage to reactivate these abilities, they discover that they return with surprising ease, like musicians, relearning an instrument they played masterfully in previous lives. Fragmented memories of specific historical events, especially when they contain details you might not normally know, are direct evidence of past life memories emerging. Do you have vivid images of specific battles, seeing uniforms, weapons, and landscapes with cinematic clarity? Do you remember details about everyday life in past eras, knowing how people dressed, what they ate, how their houses were built? Do you have specific knowledge about historical events that goes beyond what you learned in school, including emotional nuances and personal perspectives on these events? Theosophy explains that these memories emerge from two main sources: your own directum, experiences in past lives, and access to the Akashic records, where all history is recorded. Some people have the ability to access these records and read the past as if they were leafing through an infinite book. Others are simply remembering their own personal experiences. When those memories include verifiable details that are later confirmed through historical research, when you know things about obscure periods in history that only experts know, when your memories include perspectives and details that are not available in any history book, you are tapping into authentic memories of your own past incarnations. The sense of mission or purpose that some people feel from childhood, a conviction that they came here to accomplish something specific, often indicates that they made agreements on higher planes before incarnating. Did you always know you had a special purpose, even if you didn't know exactly what it was? Do you feel an inner urgency, a pressure to accomplish something important before it's too late? Do you have a clear vision of how the world could be different and feel compelled to work towards that transformation? Theosophy teaches us that more advanced souls do not incarnate randomly, but carefully choose when and where to be born to better serve humanity's evolutionary plans. Before incarnating, these souls work with masters and spiritual guides to plan the experiences they will need, the people they will meet, the lessons they will learn. They often make specific vows or commitments about what they will accomplish during the coming incarnation. When these souls are born, they carry within them a vague but persistent memory of these commitments, manifesting as a sense of purpose that cannot be denied. These people often feel frustrated in the first years of life, knowing they have something important to do but not yet knowing what it is. As they mature and the right circumstances align, their purpose begins to reveal itself, and they recognize with absolute certainty that they have finally found what they have been searching for their entire lives. Instinctive rejection of certain practices, beliefs, or institutions, even when your culture strongly promotes them, may indicate traumatic or negative experiences with these things in past lives. Do you feel a deep and inexplicable aversion to certain organized religions, even though you were raised in them? Perhaps you were persecuted by these institutions in previous incarnations. Perhaps you were burned as a heretic, tortured during inquisitions, or forced to deny your beliefs under threat of death. Do you have an instinctive distrust of authority and rigid hierarchies? Perhaps you have seen authority abused repeatedly in past lives. Perhaps you have been oppressed by tyrannical systems. Do you reject materialism and consumerism with an intensity that goes beyond philosophical preferences? Perhaps you have lived in spiritually rich but materially simple societies and recognize the emptiness of accumulating possessions. Theosophy explains that the soul maintains memory of both positive and negative experiences. These memories influence our reactions and choices in subsequent lives. When you feel a visceral rejection of something that others readily accept, when you just know that a certain path is wrong for you without being able to logically articulate why, you are often responding to wisdom gained through painful experiences in previous incarnations. Relationships with family members that are inexplicably difficult or paradoxically easy often reveal complex karmic dynamics from past lives. Do you have a brother with whom you have always gotten along perfectly, a mutual understanding that never needed to be cultivated? Perhaps you have been close partners in multiple previous lives, friends, lovers, or spiritual collaborators. Do you have a parent with whom this relationship has always been tense, despite all the efforts on both sides? Maybe you have unresolved karma from previous incarnations. Maybe you were the parent and they were the child in a past life, and the power dynamics are reversed now, so you both learn empathy from different perspectives. Do you feel like you raised your parents rather than being raised by them? Perhaps they are younger souls who need your guidance, even coming through them physically. Theosophy teaches us that we choose our families before we are born, specifically to create the necessary conditions for our growth and to resolve outstanding karmas. We are not born into random families. We are born exactly where we need to be born, with exactly the people we need to be with to learn the lessons our soul requires in this incarnation. When we understand this, even the most difficult family relationships reveal themselves as perfectly designed opportunities for spiritual evolution. The feeling of temporal urgency, that time is running out and there is still a lot to do, especially in younger people, may indicate memories of previous lives that ended before important goals were achieved. Do you feel an inexplicable rush, as if you are racing against an invisible clock? Are you afraid of dying before completing your work, even though you're young and healthy? Do you feel there is no time to waste, that every moment must be used for maximum purpose? Theosophy explains that souls who died prematurely in previous incarnations, especially when they were in the midst of important work or spiritual missions, often carry this memory of incompleteness into subsequent lives. They are born with a sense of urgency, an internal pressure to achieve, to not waste time, to ensure that this time they complete what they started. This urgency is not neurosis or pathological anxiety. It is the soul remembering unfulfilled promises, work left unfinished, potential unfulfilled. When channeled properly, this urgency can be tremendously productive, propelling a person to accomplish in one lifetime what would normally take several lifetimes. The challenge is to balance this urgency with patience and understanding that everything unfolds in perfect divine timing. The ability to forgive quickly, especially transgressions that would normally leave others devastated, may indicate that you have learned profound lessons about karma and consequences in past lives. Can you forgive betrayals, abandonments, and hurts that would keep others trapped in resentment for decades? Do you instinctively understand that those who hurt you are acting out of their own pain and ignorance? Do you recognize that holding a grudge only traps you in karmic cycles that will continue in future lives? Theosophy teaches us that the capacity for genuine forgiveness is one of the clearest signs of spiritual maturity, developed only through multiple experiences on both sides of any harm-healing dynamic. Souls who in past lives have caused significant suffering and then experienced the karmic consequences of that suffering develop a deep understanding of how hatred and resentment only perpetuate cycles of pain. They recognize that true forgiveness is not weakness or condemnation of harmful behavior, but release from karmic chains that would otherwise keep them bound to perpetrators through multiple incarnations. When you forgive easily, when you can see the humanity even in those who have hurt you deeply, you are demonstrating wisdom gained through prolonged experience with the immutable laws of cause and effect. This is no coincidence. Each sign mentioned here is a thread in the elaborate tapestry of your eternal existence, a reminder that you are much more than this temporary body, this ephemeral personality, this singular life. You are an ancient consciousness sailing through the centuries, accumulating wisdom, refining your essence, gradually approaching and the perfection that is your final destination. Theosophy teaches us that recognizing these past life memories is not simply an interesting exercise in self-knowledge, but a crucial step on the path to spiritual awakening. When you begin to remember who you really are, when the curtains of amnesia begin to part, when you glimpse the vastness of your journey through the ages, something fundamental shifts in your consciousness. You can no longer completely identify with the trivial concerns of everyday life. You can no longer believe that this brief existence is all there is. You begin to live with an expanded perspective, understanding that every action you take today is planting seeds that you will reap in future lives, that every current relationship is part of a cosmic dance that extends far beyond the limits of this incarnation, that every challenge you face is a carefully orchestrated opportunity for growth that your own higher soul chose before you were born. The journey of remembering past lives is not always comfortable. There are memories of spiritual failures, of times when you chose the easy path instead of the right one, of wasted opportunities, of unfulfilled potential. There are memories of injured relationships, of accumulated karmic debts, of broken vows and unfulfilled promises. Theosophy teaches us that we must face these memories with courage and compassion, recognizing that we are both the product of our past successes and failures. Every mistake made in previous incarnations became a lesson learned that now informs your choices. Every past failure created the determination you carry today. Every fall in previous lives has taught you how to get up stronger. There is nothing in your spiritual past for which you should feel permanent shame, only continual opportunities for growth, healing, and eventual transcendence of all limitations. The goal is not to judge yourself for past life failures, but to use knowledge from those experiences to make wiser choices today, to avoid repeating the same destructive patterns, to finally break the cycles that have kept you trapped in unnecessary limitations. Awakening to past life memories also brings increased responsibility. The more you remember, the more you understand the spiritual laws that govern existence, the fewer excuses you have for unconscious or destructive behavior. Theosophy teaches us that increased spiritual knowledge demands elevated ethical behavior. You can no longer act as if you don't know that every action has consequences that extend beyond this life. You can no longer treat others casually, knowing that you will likely encounter them again in future incarnations, and will have to resolve any created karma. You can no longer live solely for immediate gratification, understanding that you are building the foundation for your future experiences through every thought, word, and action today. This awakening to spiritual responsibility is both liberating and challenging. Liberating because you finally understand the rules of the cosmic game and can play smarter and more effectively. Challenging because you can no longer blame external circumstances or others for your situation, recognizing that you are the creator of your destiny through the accumulated choices of multiple lifetimes. Acceptance of past lives also radically transforms your perspective on death. When you understand through direct experience that death is simply a transition, a portal between one existence and the next, the fear that grips humanity dissolves into calm understanding. Theosophy teaches us that physical death is merely the discarding of worn-out clothing, consciousness continuing its eternal journey into subtle dimensions before eventually returning to the physical plane in a new body, ready for the next phase of its evolution. Those who remember past lives often lose their fear of death, not because they are indifferent to life, but because they know for sure that consciousness is eternal and indestructible. They may still feel sadness over the loss of loved ones, but this sadness is tempered by the understanding that the separation is temporary, that they will meet again, that nothing truly valuable is ever lost. This perspective allows them to live more courageously, take necessary risks for growth, and follow their spiritual callings without allowing themselves to be paralyzed by the fear of mortality. Past life memory also provides crucial context for the challenges you face today. When you understand that you were deliberately born into the specific circumstances of this life to learn particular lessons or resolve specific karmas, even the most painful difficulties reveal themselves as perfectly designed opportunities. You born in poverty? Perhaps in past lives you accumulated wealth but lacked compassion for those less fortunate, and now you're experiencing the other side to develop empathy. Do you face chronic illnesses or physical limitations? Perhaps you have been extremely physically oriented in previous incarnations, neglecting spiritual development, and now these limitations force you to turn inward, to discover inner resources, to develop the non-physical dimensions of your being. Do you experience persistent loneliness despite wanting connection? Perhaps in past lives you have used relationships manipulatively or hurt others through abandonment, and are now learning the value of true connection through the experience of its absence. Theosophy teaches us that there are no accidents, there are no innocent victims of random circumstances. Each challenge is a perfectly calibrated lesson, each difficulty an opportunity for development that your own higher soul chose before incarnating. Conscious integration of past life memories requires careful discernment. Not every image that arises in meditation is an authentic past life memory. The human mind is tremendously creative and can easily confuse fantasy with memory, desires with real experiences, stories you read, or films you watched with genuine experiences from other incarnations. Theosophy teaches us that authentic past life memories possess certain distinctive qualities: an emotional clarity that transcends simple imagination, specific details that can be verified through historical research, patterns that connect logically with issues and themes in your current life, a sense of deep recognition rather than exciting newness. True memories often emerge spontaneously during altered states of consciousness, such as deep meditation, intense breathwork, or moments of deep relaxation, rather than being forced through deliberate attempts at regression. They bring insights that transform your understanding of yourself and your current life in profound and lasting ways, rather than simply satisfying curiosity or inflating your ego with stories of being famous or important. The ultimate purpose of remembering past lives is not to glorify the past or cling to old identities, but to use this knowledge to live more wisely in the present and create a better future. Theosophy teaches us that while it is valuable to understand where you came from spiritually, what really matters is where you are going, who you are becoming, how you are using the opportunities of this present life to advance your evolutionary journey. Some people are so fascinated with past life explorations that they neglect the challenges and opportunities right in front of them. This is a serious spiritual error. The past should inform the present, not replace it. Previous life memories should clarify your current patterns, explain your present talents and challenges, offer context for your contemporary relationships. But the real work of spiritual growth happens here and now, in this body, in this life, with the people and circumstances you have today. Each present moment is an opportunity to make different choices than you have made before, to break old patterns, to create positive karma instead of perpetuating karmic debt, to ultimately become the highest expression of your spiritual potential. Past life recall is just the beginning of a much greater journey of self-discovery and spiritual transformation. As you become more aware of your previous incarnations, as the patterns of your eternal existence begin to reveal themselves, you naturally begin to question deeper questions. What is the ultimate purpose of this journey through multiple lifetimes? Is there a destiny towards which all humanity is evolving? How can I accelerate my own spiritual evolution? What role should I play in the great cosmic unfolding? Theosophy offers profound answers to these questions, teaching that all humanity is on an evolutionary journey of return to the divine source, that each soul is destined eventually to achieve complete enlightenment and consciously reunite with universal consciousness, that the suffering and challenges we experience are temporary tools used to refine our souls until we can completely transcend the need for physical incarnation. This knowledge transforms everything. You're not just wandering aimlessly through random existences. You are participating in a magnificent process of spiritual evolution, each lifetime bringing you closer to the realization of your true divine potential. Each challenge polishing facets of your being until you shine with the clear light of consciousness, fully awake. The truth is that you always have been and always will be. The consciousness that looks through your eyes now is the same consciousness that looked through thousands of eyes before in countless bodies, at times forgotten by the world, but eternally engraved in your soul. You walked the sands of ancient Egypt under pharaohs whose names are now lost to history. You meditated in Himalayan caves when the world was young, and wisdom flowed free among those who sought truth. You have loved and lost, achieved and failed, risen to the heights of spiritual achievement and fallen to the depths of material oblivion. Each life added layers to the complexity of your being. Each incarnation brought new understandings, new talents, new scars that eventually turned into wisdom. And now, in this present moment, everything you have ever been converges at the singular point of this current consciousness, this present opportunity, this life you're living now. Don't waste this by just looking back. Use knowledge of your past to inform your present and create a future that honors the magnificence of the eternal journey you're on. You're not just this fragile body that will grow old and die. You are an eternal flame of divine consciousness, temporarily wearing mortal clothing, eternally traveling home through the vast expanses of space and time. And every sign, every memory, every past life recognition is a gentle reminder that you are, always were, and always will be so much more than you ever dreamed you could be.